Welcome back, my friends. Perry once more, here to talk to you about probably one of the most lucrative technology professions, and that's of the technology sales professional. Sales, lots of us have done it. I don't know about you. I started selling, when I had a lawn mowing business when I was in high school. I went around and had to knock on doors and ask people to please, engage me in my services. And I've done a lot of other sales related type jobs. Definitely like technology better and technology type work. But at the same time, sales is a big aspect of a lot of different types of organizations. And definitely if you're doing consulting, you're always selling. Now, there are individuals who their core job is to sell technology. No big surprise there. But here's the great thing about it. As sales jobs go, being a technology sales professional has got to be one of the most lucrative. There are folks out there making literally $1 million a year selling different types of technology. Your folks who work at places like Cisco and Oracle, they are definitely clearing $500,000. It's a very lucrative industry because the thing is, the products that you're selling are crazy expensive. I mean, with the exception of, jet airplanes, I can't think of anything that costs as much as technology other than maybe a house. So when a company has to upgrade its network and they go to someone like Cisco to buy new networking gear, new phone system, voice over IP, teleconferencing, millions of dollars are spent. And that salesperson is getting a huge chunk of that. So it's a great career. It's got a ton of growth if you're aggressive and you're a good salesperson. And really, it's a very highly respected field and profession. So maybe if you're tired of selling cars, nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people do quite well selling cars. But if maybe you're looking for something a little broader, looking at technology sales is a great way to go. And there are lots of things to sell. I mean, definitely in the software, you've got cloud services, mobile applications, accounting systems, HR systems, merchandising systems, business intelligence, databases, data processing services, security, systems management tools. That's just like a fraction. Hardware, you got networking, phone systems, video conferencing, servers, manufacturing systems, healthcare. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started on healthcare. Huge money in healthcare information technology. Definitely then you got other things like professional services and staffing. Staffing is a hugely lucrative industry. Like really lucrative. I have friends in the staffing business in sales making like $500,000 a year. I kid you not. And this isn't like rocket science. You have to be a good salesperson. You have to, fundamentally understand what you're selling. But your commission rates and what you're going to make in something like staffing sales, are going to be so much higher than in other verticals. Then you get into things like management consulting. Those guys make crazy money. Selling consulting services, big $1 million projects. You get a piece of that. Project management services, business analysis, solutions architecture. These are just some of the services that you can sell. And the thing is, not one of those is under like $100,000 in terms of actual dollars coming into a company. So if you're a salesperson and you're seeing 10% of every, hour that's billed by a staffing person or every $1 million project that you sell, and you're doing like 9, 10, 12 of those a year, you're going to crush it. You're going to do really well. So if you are a salesperson or you like doing sales, but you're also interested in technology, or you're just looking for a change, you're like, I have got to get out of Best Buy and start selling someplace else and grow my career, I would seriously look at technology sales. So, $6.1 trillion in information technology. It's one of the largest sectors in the U.S. economy. This is just the U.S. The IT sector is growing at like 12% a year. So that's hard to touch. And information technology makes up almost 20% of the total economy in the U.S. 20%. Many successful technology sales professionals make $500,000 or more. I know some top sales guys in IT sales doing like 7 figures a year. And there's always job openings. If you're competent, motivated, you can get a job. Keeping that job, growing in that job, that can be tough. But finding a job and getting started, definitely it's not as difficult as you would think. So, traits of a successful technology sales professional. You got to be positive. You got to be extremely motivated and positive person. I think that's pretty much the norm across any sales job. Got to be a creative thinker. And you've got to be competitive. It is a competitive world, especially in certain spaces, like in healthcare information technology, very competitive because those deals are like 10, 15, $20 million. So you have to be a naturally competitive person. You have to be excellent with your verbal and written communication skills because you're going to be doing a lot of it. You've got to be a people person, of course. Really excellent listener because you're listening for those opportunities. You're talking to clients about complex things and you're trying to figure out what problem you can solve for them. What you're in. Is it a new software product? Is it a new piece of hardware? What do they need and what can you sell them? Good sense of empathy. Are you feeling the client's pain? What's going on with them? It's not just about listening, but like taking a look around and going, wow, those computers look really old, or wow, it looks like that person's really unhappy because they're taking 12 steps to do something that should only be 2 steps. Looking for opportunities. Of course, you got to be a little charismatic. You got to be brave because you got to be able, you got to knock down those doors. You got to get out there because, again, the money is so significant in IT. It is competitive and you can't be afraid of rejection. You just got to get out there and make it happen. You have to be very consistent. And this kind of comes down to an overall package of an IT sales professional. You have to be well put together. You have to be consistent. You have to be professional. And, you have to make people trust you because they're giving you lots of money. You have to look like a big kid. Like, wow, okay, I know I can rely on this person. They're very consistent. Because just one little wrong turn or mistake and all that love that you've been feeling from the client or all that trust you've been building can really go away really quickly. Tenacious, of course, you got to keep going. Here's the thing, the sales cycles for technology are long. We're talking 6, 9, 12 months to sell a product, to sell a project. And you have to continually go after that. And a lot of sales guys, especially those that are in faster churn businesses, like maybe selling commodity products like cars, get very frustrated with technology sales because the sales cycles are so long. But what that also means is you have to have lots of balls in the air because a bunch of them are going to drop. So you just can't rely on like a big old whale that you're going to get. You've got to have 20, 30 different things going at any given point and stacked up and be very tenacious about making sure you're pursuing those opportunities so that you constantly have a flow of incoming successes. And that takes a lot of work. You got to love to learn. This isn't like you just are a traditional sales guy and you get to just talk all the time. You actually have to do your homework. If you're selling a software product, you better know that software product. You better dig into it. You better figure it out. You be able to talk intelligently about it because you're going to be dealing with a lot of different folks. You're going to be dealing with folks in information technology or in HR or whatever you're dealing with. You have to come across like you are, if not an expert, at least very knowledgeable in the product that you're trying to sell them. So you've got to do that homework and you've got to be prepared because you're going into meetings with serious people again who are going to write you big checks, and you can't come across amateur ever. So you got to do your homework, you got to do your learning, and you got to go into meetings super prepared, buttoned up, ready to rock with your presentation, materials on the go, lunch, brought in. You've got to have it dialed in. And you've got to have some great presentation skills. You got to be able to get up on the whiteboard, start taking down notes, whiteboarding, have a good presentation in terms of your PowerPoint decks. You got to feel comfortable. And this really comes into the hard work of getting to know your product and really understanding the sales materials and being able to present and feel really strong about what you're presenting. And then you got to be thick-skinned, of course, because there's going to be a lot of rejection. Let's say 1 out of 20 times you're going to get a good opportunity. So you just have to be constant. Now, this whole world, though, of doing sales and technology, it's not like the cold calling, how do I get your business? This is a much more networking centric, getting to know people, becoming like an authority in your field, having people feel confident in you. That's how you get business. It isn't like just constantly banging down doors. It's really about making connections and friends and having those relationships. So to get to that point, it's going to take a while, and you've got to be so consistent, tenacious, and thick-skinned to make that happen. So traits of a successful technology professional. Well, I just threw a bunch at you, but successful technology sales professionals know how to provide consultative sales. Now, what I mean by that is you're there trying to figure out what their problems are, and you're coming to them with solutions. You're not necessarily there going, hey, do you need my software product? You're basically there to say, oh, do you have any of these problems that my product might be able to fix for you? You're there almost as a consultant. So you can never rest on your laurels and just kind of, gift of gab. You've got to do your homework and be consultative in your sales approach. And to start as a junior sales professional, you really need some applicable sales experience. Anything. Hey, I worked at this retail store selling makeup. Whatever the case may be, you want to build those initial skills where you're comfortable talking to people. You know how to learn about a product. You're not afraid to make a phone call. You're buttoned up. You know how to dress. You know how to get your hair cut. It really helps to have a little, even if it's just completely unrelated to what you're going to be selling, having core skill experience is really very helpful. And then you have to have some sales success. And again, that could be like, oh, I was the top salesperson selling this type of, spark plug for my auto parts store. Whatever the case may be, they are looking for folks who have been successful in other markets. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is you can get a technology sales job fairly easily if you have a proven track record of selling something else. Folks will give you the opportunity. Companies are always looking for salespeople. And I'm going to share something with you. I don't want to scare you away from this, but this is the fact. The turnover is pretty high. Like finding salespeople to be successful is tough. Again, it's competitive, and it really requires a competitive person who's tenacious. So companies are always looking for individuals who have that kind of core skill background, and they'll actually give you a lot of training to make sure you're successful. It's not just about you understanding technology. They're way more interested in you understanding sales, people, relationships. That's what they're looking for. And they'll give you a lot of the other experience that you need when you first kind of start out in this field. And here's the thing. It doesn't hurt to be a little geeky. To have a strong love of technology is kind of essential because anything you sell, you should love. If you are a car salesman and you sell Porsches, you better be the expert on Porsches and love them more than anyone else in the world. If you sell stereo equipment, you better be the biggest audiophile. You've got to have that passion for what you sell, and that has to come across and it has to be sincere. And if not, people always, they'll go like, I like him, but there'll be trust issues because they don't actually believe that you're passionate about the product that you're selling. So liking technology, kind of being geeky, it doesn't mean you're going to be a developer or a solutions architect. It just means you like tech and you find it interesting and that you can speak about it with a sense of passion. It's really important. All right, so 4 areas of sales, and we're going to break these up into some different modules for you over the course of the program, but I just want to give you an initial intro. In our program, we're going to cover 4 core areas. The first one is going to be software and application sales. And this is really focused on selling things like Microsoft Office or accounting systems or HR systems or, server operating systems. Whatever you can think of that's a software product, it's selling that. Folks in software sales can make a lot of money for sure, especially if you're selling things like Oracle, for example, or Windows licensing. Things where companies are dropping like 7 figures on software products, and there's a lot of them out there. You can do very well selling those products. The next one is network sales, and this covers a lot of territory. Network sales are things like the network equipment, and in the IT primer, if you went through that section, we listed all that type of gear, things like routers, switches, phone systems, video conferencing gear, anything where data is moving across a network, firewalls, proxy servers. There's lots and lots of network gear, and let me tell you, network gear, pretty competitive, but woo, does it pay? Those reps who work for Cisco make dollars. If they've got a good territory and they're really killing it, they can do quite well. So that's definitely a good area to look at. Professional services. This is a big one. And this covers a lot of territory, but mostly what this means is technology consulting and management consulting. So on the management consulting piece, someone may be looking to take a specific initiative. Like, I want to drive 20% in additional sales revenue through my e-commerce website. So that's a combination of looking at the technology and the design of the site on one end, and also things like behavioral patterns and personas and all the different sort of drivers and triggers that get people to go to that website. So that's kind of a combination of a management consultant who's really more on the business side of the house and the technologist who really kind of builds out the technology. That's just one example. But professional services business is huge. Like, billions and billions of dollars are spent in professional services every year. And companies like McKinsey and others, those sales guys crush it. They just totally kill it. And even for smaller companies, like we have organizations maybe with 20 employees, you can still make several $100,000s a year selling professional services. And last is technical staffing. And this is basically working with companies to help them augment their resources by bringing in temporary folks or project-based folks to fill very specific roles. This is a very lucrative industry. Billions of dollars are spent in strategic staffing every year. And if you're looking for that point where you just want to have the simplest kind of jump off point to get into technical sales professional type of role, staffing's a great place to start, because staffing companies are always looking for sales folks and recruiters to help drive business. Again, though, super competitive. But if you do a good job, you can make a lot of money. And the reason you make a lot of money in staffing is you get a piece of every single billable hour that the folks being, staffed are making. So let's say you have a company and they need to hire 5 developers, and each developer makes $100 an hour. So that's $500 an hour, of which you might see $5. So that means for your 5 developers, you're making $25 an hour every hour just on those 5 developers. If you get to a point where you have 100 people billing, you can do really well in sales for technical staffing. So I'm going to stop there. We have a whole section for technical sales professional. In this part of the top 10 IT jobs, I just wanted to give you a little sampling of technical sales. If you find it really interesting, dig into our bigger module where we get into software, network, professional services, and technical staffing. We actually dig into that a lot more. If you're not, then of course skip it. But I just wanted to have this section be a quick intro for you to give you a little overview of technical sales, but definitely check out the technical sales professional module that we have included in the program if you think this might be an interesting career direction for you. All right, folks, thanks so much, and stay tuned for the next 6-figure career plan. Bye.